Alright guys, welcome back to my channel. My throat is a little bit hoarse. The Nigerian weather is crazy. Like there's hardly any rain. It's very hot, it's very humid. I'm constantly sweating while I'm sleeping. It's a nightmare. I just wish it would rain and we'll get some kind of breeze, some kind of cool air. It's too much, but we move. So I noticed that my video that I did with Chinese husbands and African wives did very well. You guys enjoyed that video. I'm happy. So I decided to do a video because I've been seeing online, I've been seeing videos, people talking about Chinese men buying African wives. So I wanted to clear the air and talk more about that. So let's get into the video. Alright, so I mentioned in that last video that the Chinese marriage, there's a Chinese marriage market. I don't know how to explain it because I've never been married. I don't know much about it. I'm learning this as I go along, as I'm watching content, I'm listening to people make videos, and I'm doing research that China has an extensive marriage market, and that's where a lot of Chinese men find brides. I'm sure there's other ways that they find brides, through matchmaking, through blind dates. A lot of Asian cultures, that's how they get married. They do matchmaking, they do blind dates. Their friends set them up, the family members set them up, or they go to this large market where they can find husbands and wives. So I think it's a very interesting concept. I know the West really deals more on emotions. Oh, I'm going to marry someone because I love them, and that can work. But you find a lot of times in the West, there's a lot of divorce also, because usually that love sometimes goes away for whatever reason, and then they don't have anything else to base their relationship on. And I think as much as love is an ideal or a romantic notion, it's not ideal. Yes, let's say that. It's not ideal for marriage. I feel like before you should get married, there should be more than your emotions involved. You should also involve your head as well. So I think, for me, I think marriage markets work just as well as love. You don't just need love when you're thinking of marriage, because I feel like you can fall in and out of love. But if you go into a marriage with some concrete contract or ideas of what you want in each relationship, when there's a problem, you can see how you can resolve and fix it, where you can go back to that contract and say, you know, this is what you promised me, this is what I promised you. Are we fulfilling our promises? I know to a lot of people it's not romantic, and love should be romantic, but usually romantic love doesn't always last. So I've rambled on enough. What this video is about is we're going to talk about bride prices and dowries, because that's what a lot of people are confused about. They feel like Chinese men are buying African women, when in actuality what they're engaging is bride prices and dowry. And me, I don't know much about bride prices or dowry, so I had to do my research to get a better understanding. None of my siblings did bride prices or dowry, so I couldn't speak to them about that. And I feel like in Nigeria, bride prices are kind of like secretive, that I would feel uncomfortable asking someone how much they received or paid for bride price. I feel like Nigerians are very private about certain things, so I wouldn't know who to ask. And I feel like maybe it might be a personal question to be saying, oh, how much was your bride price? Or ask someone, how much did you pay for your wife's bride price? I feel like that's a no conversation, even though I'm very curious to know how much people pay or receive for their bride price. From what I heard people talking, for me, I feel it's a very low price that they pay. And I personally would not accept the amount that people are accepting for bride prices. There's no way. And I think the reason why is because I've lived in America for so long. So I feel like the amount is very minute. But in Nigeria, they act like it's a big deal, the amount that they pay. I prefer the Eastern African bride price opposed to the West African one. The West African one is usually a small amount of money, some what they call mineral soda or pop, a lot of those like drinks, and then maybe some fabrics. Or maybe that's just in village kind of terms. Maybe in other parts of Nigeria they have larger amounts for bride prices. But I know in East Africa they do cows, they do cattle, and me, I would prefer my bride prices to be cattle, things like that, sheeps, goats, cattle, etc. Or the equal amount of a certain amount of cattle. That's what I would want my bride price to be. Alright guys, so I did research to find out what a bride price is and what a dowry is, and I was actually shocked because bride prices and dowry are two completely different things. They're not the same. So it says that a bride price, also called a bride wealth, is a practice where the groom or his family gives a certain amount of money, goods, or property to the bride's family. It is often seen as compensation to the bride's family for the loss of her labor and as a gesture of respect and commitment. That's what they said a bride price is. Now let's get into a dowry, because I've seen people use the word dowry and bride price interchangeable, and you'll realize that it's not the same thing and it's not interchangeable. A dowry, this is a practice where the bride's family provides gifts, money, and property to the groom or his family as a part of a wedding arrangement. So now you guys understand, bride price is when the groom's family gives money and gifts to the bride's family, and dowry is when the bride's family gives gifts and property to the groom. So a woman does not receive a dowry and a man does not receive a bride price. The woman receives the bride price and the groom received the dowry. So there are different parts in Africa that I know practice bride prices, and they mentioned Kenya, Nigeria, Ethiopia, South Africa, and they said etc. I know Tanzania, Uganda, and I think Rwanda, they also practice, and I'm sure other parts of East and West Africa, but these were only just a few examples. In many African cultures, the bride price is a customary practice, and it can include livestock, money, and other valuable items. The amount can vary depending on the tribe, region, and family wealth. It's often negotiated between families, and the bride price signifies the groom's ability to support his wife and respect the bride's family. So that's what a bride price is usually done. It's given to the bride's family to say that this groom is going to be able to support, provide for her, and is also a sign of respect towards the family. In Asia, they mention China. In some areas of China, particularly in the royal regions, the groom family is expected to pay a bride price or offer gifts to the bride's family. Historically, it was a symbol of the groom's ability to take care of the bride. So it's the same as in Africa. In China, they also pay the bride price to show that the groom can provide for the family. There's also mention in India, in Cambodia, and the Pacific Islands, they also practice bride price. I'm sure other places practice as well, but these were the areas that was mentioned or was very specific about. Now the dowry. We already mentioned that the dowry is when the bride's family pays the groom. So let's talk about the dowry now. Okay, it says dowries in South Asia. In India, the dowry system has deep significance or historical roots in India, although it's illegal. So they're saying paying a dowry is illegal in India. Dowry payments are still prevalent in many parts of the country, usually involving a significant wealth or goods such as cash, jewelry, and household items being given to the groom family. So it's very interesting that the dowry is now illegal in India. There must be a reason why it's become illegal, because you always hear about dowries in India. So the family gives the groom's family money, jewelry and household gifts, probably like china, fine china, things like that. Even maybe furniture. Okay, Pakistan and Bangladesh is very similar to India, where the dowry system is practiced, where the bride offers good money, property to the groom and the family. In Mid-Eastern region, they consider Turkey to be Mid-Eastern, but I consider Turkey to also be a part of Asia and part of Europe. So the same is done in Turkey, where they give money, jewelry, furniture to the groom, and the bride might also give like personal items to the groom. In Iran, it's also the same way as well, and it's seen as a form of financial security for the wife. So it's very interesting. In these countries, the dowry, even though it's given to the groom's family, is kind of seen as a financial security to the bride. So I'm thinking that they're paying the groom's family to take care of the bride. So to me, that makes sense. Usually with the bride's price, they're paying to the bride's family to say, okay, I have the money to support the bride. And in the dowry, they're paying the groom's family, so in order for them to look favorably on the bride and to be able to support her financially. So they're giving them money to support the bride. So that's very interesting. And then we can even talk about the pros and cons of bride prices, because I know a lot of people might not look good. They might look down on bride prices and frown down on them and say they don't think that people should be paying bride prices or even dowry. And we'll talk about that now. All right, so as we mentioned, I think the pros of paying the bride price is that the bride's family will be able to see that, you know, the groom has the financial backing to take care of the brides. But so what I've noticed sometimes, the stories I've heard, is that sometimes the groom can take all of the money that he has and pay off the bride price, leaving him and the bride with nothing left over after the marriage. And that can create resentment, which is a con, towards the bride, where the groom feels like now she's his property because he's given all of his money and wealth to the family. Now he's making her suffer or punishing her for that by treating her like property and looking down on her. As far as the pros and cons for dowry, the bride paying the groom's family might make him think that he's more superior to her because the family is paying him to take her off their hands, so he can also look down on her in that way. So there's kind of like a pro and con in both of these dowries and bride price, where either the groom looks favorably on the bride and say, I'll take care of her and provide money, and knows that because he's provided money for the bride price, the family is thinking that she's very valuable to them, and knowing that he has to make sure he take care of her. Or the other way could be that he feels like he spent so much money on her that she must become like a servant or property to him. And then with the dowry, the groom can think like, okay, the family has given me this amount of money and valuables because they prize their daughter and they want me to financially take care of her, using this kind of like they're gifting me to take care of their daughter. Or they can think like they're more superior to the daughter because the family is be desperate and trying to get rid of her, or paying him like, please take my daughter off, you know, our hands, and you're more important and more valuable depending on how much money they give. This is what I'm kind of thinking my observation is. You guys let me know what your thoughts, the pros and cons you think of bride prices are. Do you think that families should be paying the bride or the groom to be getting married? Do you think that these gifts are a good thing to help actually financially support each family? We know that a lot of rich families have marriage of convenience, where they join their family to grow their wealth, this is a bigger kind of, we're not even talking about that level. We're talking about the lower level of bride prices, where it's like more of a people that are not as rich, middle class and lower class. Because what the rich do, the marriage of convenience, the business alignment is on a whole nother level than what we're talking about. But it has similar undertones where you marry into family because of wealth, because of title, because of status. So now let's go more into it as well. Okay, we've talked about the pros and cons of bride prices. I actually asked people to leave comments and suggestions or even opinions, but I didn't get any comments. So hopefully when you guys see these videos, you'll be able to put comments down and tell me what you think about bride prices and dowry. And if you still think that that's what Chinese men are doing, if you feel still after watching this video you feel like they're paying for African brides, or they just fulfilling the tradition that is in China, in Asia and in Africa, where you pay a bride price. Because I can promise you, if these Chinese men try to go to Africa and try to marry these wives without bride price, the family will not accept it. They will not be allowed. So whether people like it or not, they can say that these men are buying these brides, but it's the family that is negotiating, letting them know this is tradition. Even in Nigeria, paying a bride price is a tradition. But I personally think that bride prices are good. As for dowries, I'm still on the fence about dowry, but I guess if I was from a rich family, I would think dowries and bride prices are good. I don't think that it should just be the woman receiving gifts from the men. I think the men should also receive gifts from the women's side of the family, if the family is rich and can provide that. So this video is a very short video. I just wanted to touch on that subject because I'm seeing a lot of videos online that are talking about that these Chinese men are going and they're actually paying for brides, when in actuality it's not. It's a tradition within Asia and within Africa where you pay a bride price when you get married. And some of these people that are doing these videos, they know that. They're just making content for views because they're African and they know that you have to pay a bride price. So what is the difference between an African man paying a bride price and a Chinese man paying a bride price? They're both paying a bride price to get a wife, so there shouldn't be any differences at all. So these videos are kind of a little bit biased. So that's all I think. So guys, comment down below, tell me what you think about bride price and dowry. If you had to pay a dowry or bride price for your wedding, do you think that they should be illegal as they are in India, or they should continue? And what is the perfect bride price, do you think? What is the amount that you think should be the perfect bride price, at least starting, like the minimum and the maximum? Let's talk about that. What do you think the maximum and the minimum bride price that someone should pay? Even dowry. Oh guys, bonus. I wanted to mention that not only Africa and Asia is bride price or dowry practice. Actually, the dowry is practiced in Eastern Europe, like countries like Poland, Russia, Italy, Latin America, France, and Spain. They also used to practice. I don't know if French and Spain, I don't think they still practice. It says in the past, dowries were common in France and Spain, where the bride's family gave property and money to the groom. However, this practice have become outdated in most places today. It says Latin America, places like Mexico, Guatemala, and Colombia, the traditional dowry practice has largely been replaced by modern custom. Through historically, dowries were seen as a way to ensure the bride's future security. So it's interesting that even though they're paying the money to the groom's family, is to secure the security of the bride. So even though people would say, oh, the dowry is giving money to the groom, is for the benefit of the bride. At least that's what it was meant to be. The same way Italy, the bride's family provide land. Ooh, in Italy they go really in. They provide land, good money to the groom. So, but it's not widely practiced anymore. In Poland, they also give property and money as well, but it's also faded. So dowries are slowly fading away in Europe and in Latin America. But bride prices are still practiced in China, in some parts of Asia, and in Africa. So I just wanted to add that. All right, guys, let's continue the video. All right, in conclusion, I don't think that Chinese men are going to Africa to buy to buy brides. But also, I wanted to add, in Nigeria, I don't know about the rest of Africa, if you want to get a divorce, you give the bride price back to the man. Did you guys know that? In Nigeria, if a bride wants to divorce her husband, she has to return the bride price. I think that's pretty cool. It's kind of badass if you ask me. And yeah, so when a bride returns the bride price, that means the relationship is over. So until the bride price is returned, the relationship is not over. So I thought you guys should know that. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to my channel, and let me know, what do you think about bride prices? What do you think about dowries? What do you think about Chinese men running off to Africa and snatching up all the African women? Let me know. All right, guys, bye.